Welcome back to Everything Whiskey. I'm Callum.
I'm Sam.
Today we're having a look at the Octomore 12.1.
Alrighty, so super excited about this. One, because it's expensive. Two, because it's hard to come by because they do like limited releases. Yeah. And three, because it's goddamn Octomore. Like, it's peaty as hell. And while we're not like super Scotch oriented at the moment, we're more like on bourbons and stuff. The one thing that will always reignite that just like enthusiasm for Scotch is a goddamn high proof Islay.
Especially a Bruichladdich Octomore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Octomore basically became like famous or well known basically because they created a whiskey with the highest ppm, which is the measurements they use for peat pup per million. There is a little bit of like kind of like wishy-washiness to those numbers just because they measure the amount of peat like compounds within the actual grain and not within the whiskey itself.
Oh, is that how they do it?
Depends on how they distill it and cut the distillation. Depends how much of that is actually going to be translated into the whiskey itself. But it is a measurement worth noting.
Well, I mean, if it's consistent across the board, then it shouldn't really matter.
It depends. I don't know if it is. That's the problem. There's too many variables. But no matter what, when you're getting Octomore, it's going to be peaty as hell. Yeah. So you don't really need to worry about the number itself. Just know that you're getting into a very peaty whiskey. Now this one, I can't remember the ppm.
I think it's 130 on the front. I think it's 130.8.
Yeah, so it's 130.8 ppm. So it's on the lower side of some of the ones, I believe. The one we did before this was a fair bit lower, 120 or something.
I think it was lower. I think it was like 90.
No, it probably was.
107.
And then the first one we did was even higher than
208.
That. Yeah, so it was the higher end. I think the highest one they did is like 330 something.
I'd love to get my hands on that.
Yeah, I think it's ongoing. It's that 8 point something.
Any collectors out there?
Yeah, and they sell them for like $8,000 a bottle. Here in Australia, what was it?
228.
228 odd nicks.
No, on Paul's Liquor.
Found another one. Don't get onto it because you're going to start eating up the stock. Trying to find these niche whiskey
They had
brands.
one bottle left. It's the only bottle I could find anywhere in Australia.
Alrighty, so proof-wise, then we'll actually get into the notes. 59.9, so 60%, age of 5 years in ex-bourbon casks.
It's the highest percent out of all of them.
Is it?
59.8, 59.5. So they're
all 59.
It's pretty close.
It's basically the same. Yeah, so we'll jump into the notes.
Blue cheese.
We always get cheesiness. Cheesiness
this is like
always
heavy
so rich.
blue cheese.
I reckon the one that I got the most was the first one. I got like the most like, I don't know, like English cheddar, like, I don't know, just, it was so nice and salty and cheesy. I'm getting a weird, the hell is that? There's always weird notes in Octomore. If you've ever had it, it's
very fruity.
Know. That's what I was going to say. I'm getting blueberries, like fresh blueberries.
Yeah. It's like a fruit platter with cheese in the middle. There is a weird water cracker note.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, there's like the maltiness could come across that way. Pepperiness. Ton of peat, a ton of salt. Nice brininess. There's like those hospital kind of like clean hospital floors, stretched Band-Aid kind of like medicinal plasticky note.
I reckon when you peat a whiskey too much, like these Octomores, they almost become numb to the peat, almost.
Yeah.
It's like, you know that it's heavily peated.
Yeah.
But you become too overwhelmed and it's...
Or like because we know it's Octomore, we're not even, our first notes when we taste an Octomore are never even peat because it's more, it's just like assumed. Like ignore the peat and go to the outlier notes. Because like it's no shit, it's peat, it's Octomore. Nice sweetness to it as well. But I am seriously getting that weird blueberry note. Like it's like a light, lighter, because it is quite young. It's more like it's got this kind of sparkliness to it. Almost like a mezcal, because mezcal is like briny and smoky as well. It's almost got that kind of light weirdness to it, like a mezcal. Now that I've said that, I can't think of anything else. It's much deeper and smokier and brinier, but it's got that kind of like almost, I don't know, that mezcal. It's like they've added, this to tequila or tequila to this kind of thing. Like it's, I don't know, it's weird. Got a nice bright sparkliness to it, which is not normally what you go for in whiskey because it indicates young. But sometimes, especially with Islas, it can actually work.
How old is the Octomore?
5 years. This one, I don't know about the others.
And how many do they release? Do we know?
Of this one?
Yeah.
No idea.
No idea.
Sometimes it says on the bottle.
Are they this limited? Like this one only had like 40,000 bottles released. The 10.1.
I know. I think they're all different in the amount of distribution they get. It says limited release 2021, but
Yeah.
who knows how many they actually released. I think it does definitely depend on how much they
I mean,
made.
it is Bruichladdich. They're a huge distillery.
Yeah, but I think when it comes to Octomore, it's probably the most limited.
Yeah, they're highest.
Especially
run.
because when they do the runs, it's like one number per whatever cycle a year, I guess. I think it's probably more than a year. I don't know what the actual cycle is in months, but say they do it every year, for example. You know, it starts at 1 point, whatever, and they go through.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it goes up to. I think it changes every year, like 1 point up to 9 one year, but at 1.5 the next year or something like that. But it just means that there must be there wouldn't be much of it to go around if they're not just like a Octomore release per year, but then it's split up into runs as well. Like this individual one, the 12.1, is probably the most out of all of them because it's the cheapest release.
The baseline.
But it's still probably, you know, not much in regards to like how much the rest of Bruichladdich sells.
Oh my god.
It's
Honey. Honey malt with a lot of peat.
This is like a mezcal cocktail. Like there's so much sugar syrup, like agave syrup in it.
There is, yeah.
It's very sweet. It's like like we were saying, a charcuterie board. And like when you get the cheddars and stuff and the blue cheese, a lot of the time they'll put like honey over the top.
Yeah.
It's like they've drizzled a fat amount of honey on it because it is super sweet.
Oh, go back to the nose. It's like caramelized onions now.
Yeah.
I reckon hands down, the
goddamn.
Octomore line are my favourite whiskies.
Really?
I just love the interests. They're similar, but they're all different, like noticeably different. And
I would say it's
price is the
definitely
only
within the
limitation.
top 3 for me, as
Yeah.
in my favorite whiskeys, just because of how unique they are and like extreme. I don't know. I think it definitely would have been number 1 for me before. Now I'm so into cask strength, barrel proof bourbons.
Yeah.
I think I would still prefer a good one of those over this. But when it comes to like how interesting they are, yeah, I don't really think I've had anything else that's like blown me away the same way Octomore has. First time we had the first Octomore, I'd never had anything close to it. Like Ardbeg.
Yeah, I mean, that was early days as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know, but even still, there's nothing comes close to these.
No, yeah.
Like you get, I don't know, Smokehead High Voltage or something is the highest when it comes to like peatiness and proof, you know, but it still doesn't hold a candle to anything Octomore does. So I don't know, I think in regards to like how unique it is and how intense.
That's probably a good way to
sits
think of it.
number 1.
The Octomore range makes Smokehead seem watery, almost.
Yeah. Yeah, everything, and that's like, I mean, and we're talking about the base rung, you know, the 0.1s. Like
12.3 would be insane.
Yeah, like the other ones are just crazy. So, and they do different finishings with them. Like I think the 0.2 or 0.3, they've got like Sauterne, which is I think a wine, like cask finish, and Pedro Jimenez. So imagine like something this high proof and this peaty and intense and like attacky, but
in a sherry
cask. Like it would just be
really
so
nice.
interesting.
I think I prefer the nose of the Octomore over the palate. Like the palate's nice, but the nose you can live in it for hours.
I think it depends. Depends the day for me, because sometimes I go back and forth to that. But yeah, they always have really good noses.
It's really fruity
but
now.
I don't know.
Fruity with a tanginess.
It's more balanced on the nose for this one particular, I'd say. Yeah, I don't know. This is just like, it's always going to be something that I'm going to want to try, even if I'm so anti-Scotch at some point. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm enjoying Scotch more lately than I had done recently. I'm just coming back around to being able to appreciate it. Even if I kept going away from Scotch, I feel like no matter what, Octomore would be able to bring me back to just like, it would be able to convince me.
Yeah.
Because it's just so damn interesting.
The price is the only issue.
I was about to say, I wish the price and like the availability was better, but again, that's kind of what makes it so special as well. But yeah, let us know what you think of Octomore as a lineup, if you've tried specifically any of the 12 point whatever releases.
Yeah. If anyone knows any sites that we can buy previous versions of the Octomore, down to like even the 3s.
Just anything.
Anything, I'd be super interested just to have the collection realistically.
Yeah, I mean, realistically,
and to try them as well.
It's a lot of money. I know the resale market can be insane. But yeah, if you enjoyed this episode of Everything Whiskey, leave us a like, and you see future episodes from us, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. If you do, we'll see you next one. Cheers.